Hey, Nashville, thank you for tuning in to Mic Check today. I'm sitting here with a very important guest, a very important figure in the Nashville community, Mr. Ricky Waller. How are you doing, sir?
Doing very well, brother. How you doing?
All right, thank you for coming down.
Thank you for having me out.
And like I stated earlier, man, that you're a very well-dressed man, and I wish I could have,
Yeah.
compensated, what you got going on, man, because, you're very well-dressed.
I appreciate
I'd like to
that.
compliment you on that.
I appreciate that. And again, back to you, I say I like your style. You very well dressed yourself, and you have to do what works for you.
Yeah,
And you do it well.
One thing I like to do is I don't like to project anything that I'm not, especially on TV, in front of everybody, because what you see is what you get. If you see me out in the street, you're going to see the same person that you see all the time, which brings me to the reason why you're here today. Is, like I stated before, you're a man of God, and how did you get into the ministry, and also how did you get the notion to bring your ministry to the streets of Nashville?
Well, after being a supplier in the streets, I did a lot of supplying drugs, and I knew how to reach people through the lifestyle that I lived. And in doing so, once I became a minister, I recalled about my life and looked back on how I lived back then. I knew how to fish for people to get my product. And then I found something good in ministry, that God had gave me an opportunity to see the power that He had, and it was just good to go tell somebody I just tested His power, and I just wanted to distribute it to people the same way I did the drugs. And again, I went to church by way of a visitor in 1990. And in visiting the church, I sit in the back of the church, and I heard the man of God say that God was able. And in hearing that, I kept showing up. And God would set a person up if He wanted to use them. And just so happened, if I had found out in 1990 that I was going to become a minister, I wouldn't have never come back to the church. But He gradually gave me the strength to continue to come and restored me slowly. And one day in 1992, I was delivered from drugs. And at that point, I kept showing up, and I would tell my friends, and God saw that I was obedient to that. And so along the way in 1998, He called me into the ministry. I wouldn't have selected me, and that I wouldn't have done.
Well, you are very much a product of the power of God, and that He has in transforming people, and to do His work. And a friend of mine said that He sees you out on the streets, ministering to people in the community. So your church is not necessarily four walls.
No, I do the Lighthouse ministry on Sunday mornings. I oversee it. I've been doing it for about 5 years now. But also I like being out in the streets because that's where the hurting people are. And the same thing that was done with me by way of restoring me back in the right standard. There's so many people out there that's lost, caught up, entangled, and can't get loose, and they need some information on how to do it. And God gave it to me, and it's up to me to take it to the streets, and that's my assignment.
Okay, so you're originally from Nashville, correct?
Yes, from Nashville.
Now I also understand that you have a history in athletics. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, I must say I think a lot about sports. I played baseball, football, basketball, but basketball stayed with me. I was a pretty good ball player. And in just recalling about how well I played basketball, that was one of the things that I thought I would continue to do, maybe going to college and just enjoy basketball. But the street captured me, the drugs game captured me, and just gave me something that I put before my ability to play basketball well. And once it had its hand on me, it just made me do everything it wanted me to do. It dictated my destination. And before I knew it, I was supplying West Nashville with drugs.
Okay, do you mind speaking candidly about how it is that one can go from being pretty much a sports superstar to, like you say, getting involved in a drug lifestyle? I mean, how did you feel as far as like your friends and family, like the image that they portrayed or they felt of you and the image that you portrayed to them? I mean, how did you like process that?
Well, in my neighborhood, I was known as a great ball player, and then my nickname was Fat Ricky growing up. And a lot of people.
Well, you lost a lot of weight.
Yeah, back then I did a lot of sports, so I did a lot of running and things of that nature. And along the way, people would wonder why they called me Fat Ricky. And some of the people took it upon themselves to believe the reason why they called me Fat Ricky because my pockets was always fat, and with a bankroll of money. And when money became something that I idolized without even knowing it, just being captured caused me to pursue the lifestyle. And so basketball became secondary.
How did you
to me
make that transition from being involved in the drug life to the ministry? I mean, what's the circumstances around that?
Well, my friends, when we grew up, it was three of us that really was real tight, and they both went to prison. And I was still in the streets, and at some point I felt like they left me out here all by myself. And so the pain got so severe in what I was dealing with because I was a drug user. The main drug that I loved the most was heroin. And heroin is a drug that controls a person's every thought. Of course, it did me that way. And God knew in my heart that I couldn't change even something that was changeable. And I used to hear before that once a junkie was always a junkie. So I used to hear those cliches, and I adopted that to think that, well, they say once a junkie, you're always a junkie, so I wasn't gonna never be able to overcome it. But God knew in my heart that I had a lot of pain on the inside of me. I used to wear suits and things, but I still was on drugs heavy. And as I said, you know, one night I heard that voice speak to me, and I just took a chance. And I say this, and I say this often, that my mother, in which loved me very well, the people in the community had love for me as well. However, it's something about once that drug get control of you, even with people loving you, it's still not enough. And so I just cried out in my heart when I heard that voice, and I am a chance taker. So I took a chance and I went into that church, man. And the thing about that is, when I went to church, I thought about my mother when she used to say these words, "Lord, have mercy." And then along the way, she would say, "Thank you, Jesus." And I knew something had to happen between "Lord, have mercy" and "Thank you, Jesus." I was a little boy when I used to hear her say that. But when I grew up and I got caught up and the pain was so severe, I said, I wonder, would he have mercy on me? And that's what made me step out on faith and take a chance and go into the church. And sure enough.
I hear you talk about Pastor Cook. Could you tell me who he is and what he means to you?
Yeah, Pastor Cook, he's the late Pastor Cook now. When I was up on 40th in the early 70s, again, while standing on the corner, Pastor Cook would come through from church and see me standing on the corner. He knew my family and he knew the things that I was doing, but he still would let his window down and say something encouraging. I'm grateful for someone that was on the inside of a building, had the courage to come out and say something to someone that was lost, which was myself. And I can't do anything without giving him his props.
So could you say that's Pastor Cook inspires you and he's in what you do today as far as like taking your ministry out to the streets?
Yes.
People who's not within the confines of four walls.
He have a great deal to do with it. It's because